This interview I did is meant to be advice for young people in high school or about to go into college who are asking themselves, should I go to college? What should my expectations be? What are my long-term goals? Do I want to play sports in college? I think more and more people are questioning if college is the right decision. Is there any clear evidence that the return on investment is really there? Over the last 50 years or so, your ability to have status or a job in the world has felt like it depends on you going to college. But I think we are all seeing that that is changing. College degrees aren't equating to smart, capable, and emotionally regulated adults who are ready for the workforce. For so many, it means starting off adulthood in debt. None of this means that college isn't right for you. Listen to those around you who you know truly want the best for you and are willing to tell you the truth. I hope you enjoy this video, and if this is something you are wrestling with, that it gives you more insight and helps you better prepare for the years ahead.
You or the camera?
In the third quarter of 2024, the total student debt in the US is supposedly at $1.77 trillion. That's according to Google AI. Apparently, the average undergrad debt just under $30,000. And then, of course, federal student loans make up about 90% of that loan debt. And apparently, the average public debt is around $30,000, and the average private student debt is closer to $50,000. This video is not about student debt. It's just an interesting thing to note. All right.
Good icebreaker.
Yeah. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Andrew Stenberg. Things to note, I am the youngest of 9 kids, was in a family that a lot of people attended college. I really enjoyed my college experience.
My name is Valerie. I went to college in 2021 and I graduated very recently, December of 2024. I went to college for kinesiology, which is essentially like pre-physical therapy, so I will have grad school after this.
How old were you the first time you remember hearing about college, or the idea of college had entered your consciousness?
All of my older siblings did college except for I think maybe just one. And so I remember going to Seattle Pacific University to see my sister at about the age of 5. And that's when I first became aware of college.
None of my direct family attended college. One of my siblings, my dad did trade school, but he never attended college. And it was never something that we really talked about. Me and my family were all homeschooled. Never really a thought in my mind when I was young. I thought college was for people who become doctors and lawyers, and then for people who like to talk about philosophy and argue really difficult. Yeah, they like to just like go in circles with their arguments. I don't remember when I thought about that for the first time. None of my parents went to college. None of my siblings went to college. The only people I really knew who went to college were when I was really young. My aunts on my dad's side. I didn't get to see them because they actually lived on the other side of the country during this time, or like ask them about what college was like or their journey there.
So when you were super young, what do you remember thinking that college was?
I thought it was basically just like high school, but it was a necessary stepping stone into getting a career. Even at a young age, I thought this was just go through from kindergarten, you graduate high school, you go to college. It's like just another 4 years of school before you enter the workforce.
I didn't know much about college as a young kid. Like I said, it was, to me, doctors go there and lawyers.
Yeah.
I knew they were really expensive.
Do you remember the first time you thought, like, maybe I'll go to college someday?
I think it was, so I started going to actual school when I was 6th grade, and that was the first time that I actually told my mom that I want to be a doctor. I don't really know why I wanted to be a doctor. It just seemed like a cool career path. And I knew that college was involved in that step, but again, being a 6th grader, and I had absolutely no concept of like what that would actually look like. And so I think the actual thought of like, yeah, I could actually go to college probably started when I was like a freshman in high school.
It was always kind of an assumption, I guess, because I thought it was just standard practice. But I do remember, I want to say it was when I would go visit Joel that I decided, like, yeah, I want to go to college. I want to go off and experience college after high school.
Do you remember what like impressed you about Whitworth? And
I don't know. So, like, Joel and I, we have this, there's a relationship. We call them our special siblings, but it's just every 4 siblings it's when you're connected with, so they're kind of like your not your mentor-mentee, but it's kind of a similar relationship. So like you have a sibling you're in essence attached to a little bit closer to. So when he went off to college and I went and saw him, he was a sibling I looked up to. I think it was more the fact that my older brother's going to this college and it's the one I look up to. I want to go to college as well.
So was there ever a time in your childhood where you considered not going to college, or you?
No, I just thought it was a kind of a standard thing that you would do.
Well, up until 6th grade, I wanted to be a marine biologist because I thought I could swim with dolphins doing that. And I didn't know that college was involved in that. So I didn't think I was going to go to college. I just thought maybe I'd become a marine biologist just by getting to swim with dolphins. That would give me the necessary credentials. But then in 6th grade was whenever I decided that I maybe want to be a doctor. I don't think there was a specific point in high school when I really started to consider it seriously that I thought I wouldn't go. But it was still a very, I guess, abstract thought. There was still a lot of planning and hurdles I had to jump to be able to get there.
What did you think you would do in college?
So I thought it was just more school.
Did it run through your brain?
I thought it was just 4 more years of school, and I didn't necessarily have any idea of majors or what major I would choose at that age. It wasn't until I was about sophomore year in high school.
Sounds like for you it went from dolphins to doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very nice. At the time, did you know that college could be super expensive / overpriced?
Not at the young age. I want to say by the time I was a sophomore and I knew what I wanted to go major in when I was at college, I did discover it would be a little more costly, but I did not think of the actual cost of college.
I don't think I thought about it when I was really young like him. I was in high school. I did learn that it was extremely expensive. And the weird thing about it was that culture in school was that everyone was going to college and no one necessarily talked about the price of college or how they were going to pay for it. And it was just for lack of a better term, everyone was just going to YOLO it. Maybe their parents would help, maybe they would help pay for a little bit, maybe they'd take out some loans, and everyone was just gonna figure it out type of thing, which I thought was interesting, and I think I worried a little bit more about it than my average peer.
You both played sports in college. You played 4 years, you played 3 years since you graduated early. Did you always want to play sports in college?
I knew you could play sports in college from a young age, and I definitely did not want to. I did gymnastics when I was really little. That was more of a hobby. Soccer was definitely more of a hobby in high school. And then I started doing track and field my freshman year of high school. Probably was sophomore year where I started to really enjoy it and think that maybe I could do it in college. And I still had two more great seasons, and then COVID happened and that canceled my junior season, and so that broke my heart. I wasn't any good, but I thought it really took away my chances of getting to go to college and play sports. So I had a very big dream that lasted a month, and then it got crushed by COVID.
Well, I never really thought that I would be able to play. I had this idea that college sports was super elite, and my main sport was soccer. I did soccer, basketball, and golf growing up, but soccer was the primary. I did club soccer leading up to junior high, and then at that point I was just basically only with the school. Normally, club soccer players that are good and do look to play in college and move on to professionals, they will maintain club soccer, traveling soccer. They will basically only do one sport. They'll do it year round. And so I didn't think I would have any chance to play, but I wanted to play because you could get a scholarship for playing a sport at the NAIA level. And so to help pay for college, that's one of the reasons I tried out for the team my senior year, and luckily the assistant coach said, hey, if you come here, you'll get a scholarship and we have a place for you. So that's why I really didn't think that I would in college.
But do you ever remember questioning any point whether it was the right decision?
I don't think I ever questioned if it was the right decision. The thing that I wanted to study definitely required college, and I was aware of that at this point. I also had worked a lot of summer jobs in high school that were very strenuous, working in the food industry and customer service, and that definitely helped me realize that I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So that was a good motivator of college is definitely something I want to do, even though there's a lot of unknowns and I don't really know what that looks like right now.
Yeah, I've never doubted it either. Starting college, I just thought it was needed, it was necessary, especially to achieve the goals I had, a career that I wanted. I worked in grocery store, I worked at Safeway, 40 hours a week on my feet, customer service, dealing with just some terrible people not employees, but just customers. I knew that was not where I wanted to ever be long term, so I definitely figured that college would help me get out of that and into a career.
Do you guys remember who helped / encouraged you the most at the time?
You definitely have teachers that are kind of cheering you on and like encouraging you to go to college. My parents, they were aware since, again, like I said, my sophomore year, I was pretty intent on going to college and what I wanted to do. So they didn't I didn't really need any further encouragement, and all my siblings had kind of gone. So they would have encouraged me, I think, but I don't think that they ever felt like they needed to.
I would say my mom would be the biggest one, just that she was always like willing to go to college campuses. Another big one was my principal. I went to like a really small school, and like I said, COVID was kind of happening. When I was graduating time frame, a lot of my classmates were feeling extremely unmotivated. So there was a lot of opportunities for scholarships and just different, like learning how to apply for FAFSA, what that looks like, getting me the resources that I needed.
What was your biggest fear about college as like a senior in high school?
I think it's like starting over again. Going from freshman year in high school to senior year in high school. Freshman year is always nerve-wracking. It's a brand new experience. You don't really know what's going on because you're brand new to it. So it's similar. Once you get to your senior year of high school though, everything's comfortable. You know what's going on. You know how to act and how the system works. But now you're going back to freshman. And so it's kind of, you have to revert back to being this new person that has no idea what they're doing, where you're making decisions on your own as well, and you're having to live with the consequences. So I think there was a little fear going in as far as this is your first foray into the quote-unquote real world, not fully because you're still in a little bubble of a university and a campus, but there's still a little fear as far as freshman year and not knowing anyone, not knowing where any buildings are, any classrooms are.
For me, when I was in my senior year of high school, I worried a lot about paying for college. I knew my family wasn't going to be able to help out in that area, and so it was something that I needed to figure out. It seemed very daunting. It was just very daunting going into a big school because I'd been homeschooled up until about 6th grade. From there, like my class sizes were no more than like 20 students, and I was not at all used to just being thrown into a pool of a ton of different people from all different walks of life. So I decided to do college sports, track and field, about a month before I went to college. I emailed the coach and just let him know that I was interested. I had talked to him previously, and then I changed my mind, decided I wasn't going to do it, and then I emailed him like literally a month before I went to college, let him know I was interested. He said that there was a spot on the team for me, and so that was something that I was really looking forward to because I'm actually going to get to continue track, and it was nice to be able to know that I already had like a team, or I guess like a group of people that I could get plugged into right away.
I was so excited to start the journey into adulthood. So it wasn't necessarily college related, but it was more of getting out of the house and being able to make my own decisions and live with the consequences, as well as now I'm one step closer to graduating and pursuing my career, because since sophomore year, in high school, I wanted to move on and start working in a career field. Probably junior year, I started doing like AP classes to make sure I was trying to buff my GPA, my grades as much as possible, because I knew that you could get academic scholarships. So I would say freshman, sophomore year, my grades weren't the best, sadly, but junior and senior year, I definitely turned things around and made sure to pick those things up, so that way I could qualify for more academic scholarships.
Do you remember why your grades weren't good the first 2 years in high school?
Yeah, I didn't really care that much. I was probably like a 3.5 GPA or something, or a 3.4, so classes in school came relatively easy to me, so I wouldn't necessarily study for things, and I was more than happy with a B or a B plus versus going straight for 4 again, because I wasn't too concerned.
You weren't thinking long term at that point.
At that point, freshman, sophomore year, I wasn't thinking long.
As far as like the GPA thing, freshman year of high school, I never held myself to the standard of getting a 4.0. It wasn't a goal of mine, but I ended up doing well in school, and I think it's just because I worked hard every semester, and every semester I ended up getting a 4, and I was like, oh, that's cool, see if I can do it again. But I was never like a specific goal that I have to keep all A's in high school. And then as far as like actually preparing beyond that, I probably started sophomore year, where I started studying for the SAT, which is like a test that you take to get into college. And I did really poorly on that exam, TSAT.
Oh yeah.
Which is like the practice test that you take. Like I did so poorly, and I thought either my GPA is lying or I'm an idiot. I didn't know what was going on, but I did really poorly, and that was really discouraging.
How many schools did you apply for?
Maybe like 5. I applied to Fox, Loma, University of Oregon, maybe another one.
4 or 5,
4 or
maybe?
5.
Just one. I remember receiving a bunch of the letters from universities, like, oh, it'd be cool, Concordia University in Irvine, California, a sunny college, that'd be kind of fun. But I want to say I applied pretty early on, and I got accepted, so I just didn't care about applying anywhere else.
My top choice was George Fox after touring it, and I don't necessarily, well, it was close to home and it was a Christian school, and both of those things were like really great on my list. But yeah, definitely I toured the campus, and it was the first one that I felt like the tour guide like actually cared about what I was doing and wanted to get to know me, which like actually makes a huge difference when you're deciding where to go to college. If you're on a campus tour where the tour guide has like the little headset and you don't get to see them the whole time because there's a crowd in front of you, it's not that appealing. And so Fox made you feel like super welcome, and so that was definitely my top choice.
Yeah, my top choice slash only choice was Corbin University. So as far as the reason why is, it was a small private college that was within driving distance. So if I wanted to come back for a holiday, or if I had to work, because I had to do that once a month, it was only a 2-hour drive away. And then obviously because of soccer getting a sports scholarship helped as well.
Yeah. Do you remember how many scholarships you applied for?
I want to say I applied for an okay number, but I wasn't super duper good about applying for scholarships. So I would say maybe only 7 to 10. I think I got 3. As far as grants and things from the college itself, or the academic or the athletic, I'm not counting that. I would assume that's just its own thing. Or do you want me to add that in? I would say then that I probably got about 5 scholarships and 2 grants.
Yeah, I applied for a lot of scholarships because, like I said, I knew I was going to be paying for school by myself, and so I applied basically for every local scholarship I could find, all the scholarships that the school offered, and I also went through scholarshipowl.com.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is, I don't think I got a single one because I think it's a scam. So I didn't get any of those, but I pretty much got all of the local ones that I applied for, I think, and you at George Fox that I also got. I think I did an interview with the faculty in the department, and they give you a scholarship for that.
So as far as how I afforded my college was, I worked during the summer, saved up a couple thousand. Again, I received academic scholarship. I maxed out all the loans and everything, and then whatever balances remain, I think my parents helped cover, which I think 4,000, possibly. Maybe my first 2 years was about 4,000. I think my last 2 years was only maybe $2,000.
I didn't pay for any college.
Yeah. What made you decide I'm doing college sports?
Makes it so I can afford college.
I was at my very last track meet of my senior season, and a good mentor to me just was at the track meet and reached out to me, texted me, and she's like, Val, you should really consider doing track college. I had already decided I wasn't going to, but she just told me to think about it, pray about it, reach out to the coach, and just see. My high school, again, was super small, so my peer group was my class. My best friend was Augustina Decker, but we definitely talked a lot about college and scholarships, the SAT, stuff like that.
Best friend would be Brent Rovianic, and peer group would probably be Carlos Quesada and Josh.
You guys discuss college together?
We would, yeah. All 4 of us went off to college. So Brent was going to University of Oregon, go Ducks. Josh went to University of Utah, and Carlos OSU. We would talk college a little bit, but that was mostly senior year.
How did you pick your classes? How did you manage your workload?
As far as classes goes, you have an academic advisor. So one of the professors, your freshman year, all my classes were already picked out for me because they're just a bunch of prerequisites you have to get out of the way the first 2 years anyway. So they don't really care what order they throw it in. So I didn't actually have to pick any classes. I want to say it was my sophomore years when I actually met with the academic advisor, goal-oriented toward the career choice, and we updated and made sure that my class schedule, because sometimes classes are only offered either once a year or every other year, so making sure that I could hit all the classes needed to graduate. And then managing workload is you stack a Monday and have less classes on a Tuesday. You're normally doing Monday's work on Tuesday, homework on Tuesday. It took a couple weeks freshman year to get an idea of the workload, how to figure it out, and what classes really had way more work than others, and balance. Every year I was taking, or every semester I was taking between typically 17 and 19 credits. So I was packing it in, apparently, as well as doing soccer. Freshman year may have been one of the more busy workload years. Maybe junior year, once you kind of start getting more focused in on your career and you're doing the post prerequisites.
How long did the soccer season last? How many hours a day did it consume?
College soccer, it lasts all the way. It's the whole year. So you play spring season / off season as well as in the fall. So in Oregon, soccer's in the fall. Even in the off season, you're doing a lot of running, staying in shape, and then you do have some off season games. And soccer season starts in August, so you come in a month before all the other students. In the first month you're there, it's daily triples, so you're doing about 5 hours a day of soccer, 5 to 6. I would say during the course of the school year, you're doing about 2 to 3 hours.
First year, you don't pick anything, and then by sophomore year, you actually meet with your academic advisor and start to figure out the classes that you want to take. I will say I took a lot of general education classes through a community college in high school, so I didn't have to take a lot of those my freshman year. So by my sophomore year, I was able to kind of be creative with my schedule a little bit, proactive with it, because I wanted to, I guess, overly prepared than less prepared and have to figure out the hard way. So I was really organized. I tried to get assignments done at a time. And I made a big sheet with all my assignments on it that I ever needed to do. For sports, it was really like a mixed bag as far as like how many hours a day I'd practice. Sometimes it was an hour and sometimes it was 5 hours. The season, we started in September. That was like pretty light training. By the time we got to winter, we had an indoor season, so we were starting to like actually ramp up and pole vault at that point. And then our main season was in the spring.
Oh, you already recorded it.
Did you work in college?
I did not work my freshman or sophomore year. And then my junior year, I had to get a certain amount of like observation hours in order to apply for physical therapy school. So I got a job at a physical therapy clinic and it was extremely part-time. I was working maybe 4 hours a week. I upped it to about 10 hours my senior year.
I basically work summers and winter time, I think like everyone else, so it doesn't really count. But working at Safeway, I had to work at least once a month to stay on payroll, so I would come back and work a minimum of a 4-hour shift on a Saturday.
You work summers too.
It's a given.
Yeah, everybody does.
Do you remember what year of college was the hardest and why?
Probably freshman year, getting into this new environment and not being familiar with it was probably the hardest. I mean, you could say senior year because you're a senior capstone project and that's difficult. I feel like once you get into a rhythm, you understand the professors at that point. Creating the habits was the important factor, and that's why freshman year was a little more difficult, probably the most, because it's almost like this summer camp vibe. All these new people, you're meeting brand new people, this is a brand new experience, you're having fun.
I agree with him in the sense that like freshman year was really difficult in having to navigate a lot of complicated relationships. I'm an extremely introverted person.
You are an extremely introverted person.
Yes. So it was really hard for me to branch out. Then by sophomore year, you kind of find your group of friends, so that part gets easier, but workload, junior year was the busiest, hardest in that sense. About my junior year where I was watching a lot of bucket list family videos. And I was like, maybe I should just get rich and then travel the world and drop out of college. That was my big thought about quitting.
I feel like you'd have to sell something, make a lot of money, then you could drop out of
Yeah,
college. And,
But the guy in the video was talking about how he was in college. He's like, this is such a waste of time. I'm gonna just create an app and sell it. And I was like, gosh, college is such a waste of time.
For me, no, I never thought or was tempted to drop out at any point.
Was junior year also hard because of personal stuff and workload?
Yeah.
If someone's going through a hard time in college from like a personal perspective, and they also have a hard workload and encouragement for that?
Be open with your close friends, any close mentors that you have that are in college, because yes, it's nice to be able to, I guess, like check out from the hard things that you're going through and I guess distract yourself a little bit with people who might not know what's going on in your personal life. So that's great, but then it's also nice to be able to have the people who do know what's going on and who can pray for you and kind of like talk with you through it whenever you need to. So both of those groups of people is nice. So when you talk about tough personal stuff that's going on, that's really helpful. And then when you want to just maybe forget about it for a little bit and block it out, distract yourself, it's nice to have people who can do that with you as well.
What changed the most about you from high school to college graduation?
I think the Lord worked a lot in my life between high school and graduation. He taught me like a lot of just different lessons each semester of college, and they were all very different. I've grown a lot in my relationship with him that I think vastly changes you as a person.
I also am a huge introvert, and I think between high school and graduating, confidence. And gaining confidence in myself and what I was doing, what I was trying to do. That was the biggest change and impact that happened for me personally. Considering college, well, think of what your long-term goals are first. I remember there's a lot of people that said, if you don't know what you want to do yet, consider community college to knock out your prereqs and save you a lot of money before going into a university that's going to cost a lot. For me, I knew what degree I wanted. I still could have done 2 years of prereqs if I wanted to. I knocked it out in a community college. That's something I would just say is consider your long-term goals.
I would say don't go to college unless you have a reason to, such as you want to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or CPA. There's an actual reason to go to college. Those are great reasons to go. But if you're just going because it's the thing to do as a high schooler, I would definitely say consider all of your options. And then if you do decide to go, don't just put half of yourself in. Like apply to all the scholarships that you can. Actually apply yourself in school because it's a lot of money you're investing and a lot of time you're investing.
And do you have any advice for parents?
I would say instilling good study habits, so that way that will help them just be a better student and they will be way more prepared for college.
Did you graduate with debt?
No.
Yes.
If you did, how long did it take you to pay off?
So I graduated in 2015, paid off the debt in 2021, so 6 years.
When you graduated, did you feel prepared for the workforce / the real world and your future career?
Yes and no. I think that it's one of those situations where I felt like there was a lot of general information that you learn in college that doesn't necessarily apply directly to your one job. It's good to have and have an understanding of, but as far as the accounting world, which is the career path I ended up going into, I feel like the classes had me prepared at about like 10% of when I actually joined the workforce and got real world experience. Literally probably like 3 months into real world experience, I had learned more than 4 years in college.
4 years in college.
Yeah.
I think college prepared me really well for graduate school, which is what I'm planning to go into. I kind of had an interesting major where if you're not planning to do something secondary or get some type of like certification, it doesn't really help you a whole lot. Unless you want to become a certified personal trainer, but again, like that's gonna require you to do some other certifications or schooling or something like that. So I would say it gave me the ability to know how to handle a lot of workload, give me a good base understanding of the content that I need to know.
Are there any degrees that either of you know off the top of your head where it's like you don't need to go get another certification or another higher education to get the job you want? It's just kind of like, yeah, you got the degree, boom.
Business management.
Well, you don't need to go to school for that at all. So
It's
that's
true.
Engineering. Yeah,
You
well, some
want-
people get their masters, but you can land like a pretty significant.
I think
three-figure-
engineers continue to get paid more.
Nursing.
You get a license.
I'm just saying, one of my really good friends just landed like a big girl job, like over 3 figures, and she's
Over 3 figures.
Or 6
6
figures.
figures. That. When I say 3 figures, I mean like 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over 6 figures, and she's a engineering major, but nursing is one that you become a nurse. Biology,
Move on.
I could name a few.
What was the top benefit of college? Education, people you met, or the circumstances / life lessons that you experienced along the way?
I think all of the above. I learned a lot of life lessons. I met a lot of really great friends who pushed me in my relationship with the Lord in really great ways, encouraged me in that area, and I also learned super interesting educational things. Education, because you can meet great people and get life lessons doing a job as well.
I think same. If I had to choose one, it would probably be education. I don't really know much about life lessons I learned in college,
You must
but
have had an easy college experience.
Did you date in college?
yes. I dated my freshman year, and it was my sophomore, and I dated all 4 years. Yeah, now I think about it. Again, luckily I had pretty good habits, so I wouldn't waste a lot of time typically. So as soon as I was done with a class or done with a day of school, if I had time before soccer practice, I would start working on homework pretty much immediately, and I would not have fun or relax or hang out with friends and such until I'd gotten all my homework done. I was pretty well disciplined in that regard. I wasn't spending a whole lot of time with girlfriends at all, but if I did have free time, that's where I would, probably go spend that free time.
Do you have any tips for young men who want to date in college?
Hold off. Don't date your freshman first semester when the summer camp vibes are ever present, because it's gonna seem like there's a lot of new people and a lot of fun people and cool people. So I would just recommend waiting a little bit longer, just until everything, the excitement all dies down a little bit, and then you actually get to know people for who they are and get to know them well before you start dating.
Did you date in college?
I went on some dates, but I didn't necessarily date, and it definitely wasn't a priority for me.
Friend zone.
Did your faith and relationship with the Lord grow or stagnate in college?
I would say that it probably was more stagnant, I guess. I didn't necessarily utilize that time to further my relationship with God and grow spiritually. I think it was just with the sports, because a lot of times we'd be traveling on Saturdays for games. For young men, I would prioritize finding a group of friends that attend church regularly, get in with them, so that way you're going to church once a week and you're staying involved in that regard through thick or thin. Even if you're tired or not, I would say doing that would be a good start.
My faith grew a lot in college, and I think surrounded myself by people who were of a similar faith, and so they were able to help grow me in that area. Specifically, I was super blessed that the people on my track team were really strong Christians. There would be some pretty long practices where we would just talk about faith, we talk about God, the Bible in between sprints, so that was kind of fun. And then I think I just learned a lot of tough life lessons in college that the Lord definitely taught me, so I would say I grew a lot in my faith in college. My best friend was Emma Reed. I knew her freshman year because we were on the same hall. We became good friends like the end of my freshman year. We became roommates sophomore year, and were roommates through the rest of college. We definitely talked a lot about faith together. We also went to church together every Sunday.
My best friend in college was Matthew Gibson. He was my best man at my wedding, and I was the best man in his. We had different roommates freshman year. And then second semester of freshman year, we were in the same hall. So we started to realize we have a bunch of similarities and similar likes and dislikes. Sophomore year through senior year, we roomed together, graduated the same year. We did not necessarily attend church regularly, hence why I recommend finding a group of friends that will do that with you. A funny story from college, it was freshman year. My hall, which had about 10 of us guys, we decided during Christmas time that it would be fun to take a Christmas tree, this like pride and joy of Corbin University. It's this maybe like 40-foot tall plastic tree with a bunch of ornaments on it. Our goal was to sneak down to this lobby, because there was security obviously going around the campus, take the Christmas tree and move it into one of the other dorms. The all-female dorm right next to us, it was our sister dorm. We sneaked down at like 11 o'clock at night, get down to the lobby. A couple of twins, Reed and Ross, brought their truck, and we went in with a couple of garbage bags, and we loaded it with a bunch of ornaments. There was hundreds of ornaments. We ended up at the end just leaving a bunch on, and I'm pretty sure some fell and broke as we were driving off. We actually each kept one ornament, so I still have one that I hang up on my Christmas tree actually each year. We took it, and we successfully got it into the dorm, our sister dorm, plugged it in, the lights turned on, we snapped a picture with it, posted it on Facebook, and left. The very next day, a campus-wide email goes out to all students saying the Christmas tree was stolen. It's like a Class C felony because it's worth more than $500. And so they were looking for basically anyone to come forward and admit to the crime, but no one came forward. I think they ended up discovering the tree. I don't think it's a felony because it never left the campus. So it's not like we actually stole anything. We just moved it for them.
Ornament?
Well, we just set the bag next to the tree. We didn't actually put all the ornaments back on the tree. It was just a fun experience. I don't know which of the 10 of us came up with the actual idea at the beginning.
But then you all said, all 10 of you, this is a great idea.
Yep.
So, we had a weekend coast trip. We go there often, but we specifically took a coast trip for working, I guess, for the university, called like University Ambassadors, where we would give campus tours. So we went to the coast for a retreat. We got back on, I think it was like a Saturday, and it was in the fall, and so it was raining. We pulled into the parking lot that was on the other side of the campus from my dorm, and let's just say it was dark, and it was raining. And I had a pretty long walk back to my dorm, and there was no campus buildings that were open at the time. And I really just needed to use the restroom. And I don't think I realized how much I needed to use the restroom until I started walking across campus with all of my bags in the rain. Let's just say you pee yourself a little bit before you get to the bathroom.
You take off from the bus, you have all your stuff, and you have to pee, start trekking across campus, and all of a sudden you realize
I have to pee really bad.
there's no public bathroom on campus.
That was a building that was open.
They were all locked.
Yeah, they were all locked.
So what did you do?
I tried to get into a building and I got into the front entrance, but then the actual door was locked.
So you have your stuff, it's raining, you're trying to get to your dorm, but you have to pee. What happened next?
Well, Your clothes absorb a lot if you just pee into them. Peed myself.
I wonder
No
if
one was looking.
that's
It was-
also a classy felony.
I went straight to my dorm and I showered. My favorite memory were during track season. I think the actual meets that we got to go to were really fun because track meets are pretty long and it means you get to hang out with your friends, compete, and it's a lot of fun.
We went to Disneyland as a soccer team after we got beat in the nationals. Number 2 would have been going down on mission trips to Mexico with the Moore Ministries. I did that both junior and senior year, and those were pretty awesome experiences.
Tell us about a person or thing that changed you the most in college.
I would say probably Matt Gibson, so my roommate and I. We both were just very good at encouraging each other. We were both very excited, obviously, about our future paths and careers. And we spent a lot of time talking about that, what our futures look like, both from a career orientation, a family orientation, as well as spiritual. Yeah, and then of course, I met my wife.
One thing that was really impactful was eating cafeteria food for 2 years. It made me realize I never want to do that again. It was an awful experience. I never felt full, yet I never felt hungry. Then the other one that's like more serious, as I would say, is the Bible and consistently reading it. I think my relationship grew significantly with the Lord just reading the Bible.
Awesome. Post-college/career. How long ago did you graduate? And how long did it take you to graduate?
I graduated in 2015. It took me 4 years.
I haven't officially had my college graduation yet. I finished undergrad a couple weeks ago. It took me 3.5 years to graduate.
So basically from her graduation day in May to mine, it'll be a full 10 years.
Are you still in debt?
No.
No.
Do I regret anything specific? I think I regret probably not focusing as much on schooling. I'm basically just kind of doing the bare minimum to pass classes. Pass classes with a B or an A. But still, as far as just not really taking into account the true investment, treating it as an investment of, hey, I'm putting all this money in. I want to reap the knowledge reward as much as possible and get as much out of it. I think I should have taken that a lot more seriously.
I don't think I regret anything. It gave me a really interesting perspective. It gave me a perspective of, yes, I worked really hard in college to get good grades, get good scholarships so I was able to go, but also a lot of the reason that I was able to go to college was because of the people around me who invested maybe their time in me, gave me advice, like my family, the people who the foundations who were able to give me scholarships. So it just helped me realize that there was a lot of factors that played into being able to go to college and complete it, and just humbled me a lot that the Lord was just so gracious and so kind and giving an individual person so many blessings to be able to do something that they didn't necessarily deserve.
I appreciated that it basically catapulted me into the career that I have today. My ultimate goal from sophomore year was to get into the career path. And I do appreciate that I had a professor that pushed me into it specifically. Professor Bernard was the accounting professor. And originally I was going for just business management, but he pushed me towards accounting and also pushed me towards graduating with enough credit hours so I could sit for the CPA exam. About 28 credit hours more than what a normal undergrad would graduate with. So I have a dual major in business management and financial accounting and a minor in biblical studies.
Do you feel that prepared you well for your career?
Again, it's that whole situation of, yes, I think it prepared me about as well as any sort of college or university or school is going to, which is not a lot as far as real world experiences.
I majored in something called kinesiology, which is basically just, a good pre-track to get into physical therapy school, and I didn't minor in anything. I will say I took a lot of psychology classes, and I was probably one class away from a minor in that.
Alright, this is kind of a funny question. If you had to say I majored in blank in college, sitting in coffee shops because I sat in so many in college, or something funny.
I sadly will say I probably majored in playing a little more video games than I should have. And minored in smoking cigars and playing poker.
Oh my goodness.
Did you have to sign contracts going to a private Christian college?
Yeah, I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
I majored in taxi driving because I drove my friends to track practice a lot because we had to go off campus at least twice a week to go pole vault. And so there was a 2-year span where I was just driving people to practice. And it was during the season where it rained all the time and my windshield wipers were really squeaky and I drove a Prius, so everyone just made fun of me. But I still drove them, which was kind of
really rude.
Yeah, it was really rude. It was odd, but yeah.
Did you have to do any post-grad or continuing education to get the job or career you wanted?
I'm going to graduate school to become a physical therapist, and yes, you have to do that. It's typically 3 years, and that's the program I'm doing. There's a few that are 2.5.
To be an accountant, no, you don't need any additional. If you want to be a CPA, yes, you have to pass what's called the CPA exam. As of today, it is a 4-exam test. You have to pass each one with at least a 75% or higher. Once you pass one of them, you have 3 years or 36 months to pass the remaining 3. If you don't do that, then that test lapses and you have to repass it again. And you also need, like I mentioned, at least 150 credit hours. Although I think that has been dropped down as well because there's just not a lot of CPAs in the field.
I also have to take board exams after graduate school.
Oh, okay. What are your top 3 do's college? We're gonna cover don'ts in a second.
Do go to church, even if you don't want to. Do assignments not on their due date. Do them a few days ahead of time. Do say yes more often.
What?
Be a yes man or woman. I would say I agree. Do go to church. I think that's a big one. I also agree on the second one. As far as the homework goes, I would say do it as soon as you can. As soon as you're aware that that homework is due. Normally, I think there was 1 or 2 times where I actually did the homework ahead of the syllabus. And then the professor went to class and they were like, yeah, I'm not going to have the next homework assignment due. So do the homework as soon as you find out that it is valid and you have time. Because the sooner you get your homework out of the way, the more you can enjoy your relaxed time and your hangout time with friends. And then lastly, I would say do get out of your dorm room. Go interact with others and get out of the comfort zone.
3 don'ts. Who wants to go first? Raise your hand.
Don't drink and drive. I would say don't go to parties. In college, it's going to be a temptation. Again, you're an adult for the first time. You're able to make your own decisions. But if you're thinking long term, don't do the parties. They're not worthwhile. Focus again on your education.
You're paying way too much to party.
Correct. It's a very expensive party you're paying for. Number 2 would be most likely don't be afraid to try new things and new experiences. If you're an introvert, don't be afraid to go out and do a group event. Go do something with the student body. Go do an ocean rush or whatever they're called. Number 3, a little silly, I'm referencing earlier, but don't necessarily date probably in the first semester or first year of college.
Don't be peer pressured if you don't want to do something. Don't play pranks in front of security cameras, which I had some friends who did that. And do not skip an assignment because you're tired, because you're like, oh, it's not worth very many points, because at the end of the semester, those points are really helpful.
Where do you think higher education will be in 20 years?
You know, that really, I think, depends on what happens in the next 4 years with the current, president. I think.
Won't there be about 5 more presidents between
Yeah,
now?
no, that's really true. But I think that this next 4 years, there could be a lot of, initiative to get the ball rolling in certain directions, and I don't really know what that's going to look like. But I think that there will certainly still be higher education. It could look different, but we still need it for certain careers.
Do you think it could shift though, as far as like how you get that higher education?
I think for sure, yeah. I think there could be much more efficient ways, because right now, I think that, for example, to become a doctor, it takes 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and 8 years of residency. I think that could be much more expedited, and people could use their time a lot more efficiently.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think to become a lawyer, you used to just go work with a lawyer, and then you'd have to take the tests.
The bar. As far as, Valerie is on a good track as far as what this next presidency is looking like with Trump and with Vivek and Elon heading up the Doge, the government efficiencies. Because I think student loans and the government offering student loans to everyone and basically backing student loans has created this much less substantiation to a diploma, because everyone has college degrees now. And so if it continues on that trajectory, then they're not worth a whole lot, to be honest. But if there's a change, if there's a way where the government doesn't just back everything, because there is $1.88 trillion worth of debt, and we don't have a president that comes in and chooses to wipe out the debt, literally completely nullifying any risk with a degree, then people don't have to be as serious. So there is a concern in that regard that if things continue on the trajectory, as they were the last 30 years, 20 years, where it has been basically devalued, then you could end up with just a university system that is super expensive because they can charge whatever they want because people are able to get financial aid or loans for it and just really devalue the diplomas.
Yeah, most of college is a scam.
You now have AI and advances in technology that's going to simplify and answer questions. Why can't we speed the process of education, utilizing some technology resource.
Also, like Andrew said, he said he learned more in the first 3 weeks of working
Yeah.
in your job than he did in college. So maybe getting more real world experiences would be helpful, and less sitting in a classroom or learning useless information.
At what point is it this is great, but this doesn't equate to something that is proven to have given value to society and to the economy? Why are we teaching this in college?
Yeah, I would say as far as the audit process for public schools, for sure, I would say why not? Public schools provided in essence, they're in essence government funded. Private schools, maybe you don't necessarily have to go audit, but maybe they should be required to be more transparent as to all the classes they're offering and the curriculum that's required. You could even take that same theory all the way back to high school. What high school classes are being taught that are pointless? No one knows how to change their oil. No one knows how to change a tire. No one knows how to do their taxes. But for some reason, learning about some battle that happened back in 1843 is somehow super important. There are certain subjects taught in high school and in college as well where
Sugar unicorn.
Yeah.
I learned about that in college.
So,
What?
exactly. These are examples of things that are, who is this truly benefiting and how is this going to advance me in my career and be a contributing citizen to this country?
Do you think your children will go to college?
I think there's a high % chance that they will, because if
That's 20 years from now.
if they graduate high school at the age of 16, because they're really intelligent, I think they probably will go to college, potentially, and that's just due to the fact that I would hope that one of my kids will take over the accounting firm down the road, and so that would, again, require a CPA license, which does require undergrad education. Maybe one will be a lawyer after, their mother's pretty intense and likes to, debate and argue a lot, and so I think maybe one of them would, again, go after careers that do require that university education.
I don't really have an opinion on that. If they want to go, that's awesome.
30 years, college as we know it today will still exist.
I think there will be a form of education. Will it look very different? Probably. There are certain careers out there that we need as a society, and I'm not willing to let someone offer me that service if I don't know that they've gone through some type of vetting process to actually make sure that they know what they're doing.
What is your best advice to a college grad entering the workforce?
Focus while you're in college of working with your career and academic planning advisors, because that's what they're there for. Just taking advantage of those resources early, and so once you get out of college, you know what you're doing. Hopefully you have a job lined up and you're not just getting out of college and trying to figure it out from there, because I think a lot of people do that. For me, I'm not obviously going into the workforce right out of college. I'm going to graduate school, but that's still something that I was figuring out while I was still in college.
What I would recommend between sophomore, junior, and junior and senior year, if you have a chosen major and career path, is try to get internships in that field that you're planning on going into, because that real world experience during the summertime, 3 months, you're going to learn so much more in that 3-month internship. A, do I really want this career path and then go into this field? Or B, I now am going into my senior year or even my junior year, my upperclassmen years, and I know more about this career path and more information. So then when I'm taking... I don't have a red dot to see anymore. There's no red dot to see for recording.
What is your best advice to a college grad entering the workforce?
Yeah, so my advice would be to try to attain an internship. You'll just gain a lot of real world experience. So when you go into that junior year, you go into that senior year, you're going to be very, very focused on the schoolwork, because you know how much it's going to help you become even better in that career path and career field. Throw yourself out there. Apply to a bunch of different jobs, a bunch of different positions, ideally in your career field. So if you're in finance, you can do financial analyst, you can do comptroller, you can do accounting, as long as it's within that field. Apply to different positions, and just don't feel like the first position is always the best position that you get accepted into, but don't be afraid to switch jobs. If you get some experience in one place, don't hesitate to be applying to other places as well. I think for your questions, we should just type them up on the screen.
Too much work. Should a person go into debt for school?
I think that yes.
Yes, if necessary. Yes, because most likely the tuition is going to cost more than that person can afford. So there's a chance they're going to go into debt. I don't think it's smart to just go into debt if you don't have a plan in place. If you don't have a future in plan, you haven't been thinking long term, and you just want to go have fun and party, then no, you shouldn't go into debt for school. But if you're going into debt for school because you know there's a career that requires this education, or well, this education is going to benefit me in some way that will not benefit me if I don't get it when it comes to pursuing my career path, then consider it an investment and don't consider it debt. And be very mindful that you're going to have to pay that back. So you need to make sure you get a career that affords you the salary and the wages so that you can pay it back quickly and effectively.
I would agree with that.
Do you know any successful people who didn't go to college? Why do you think they are successful?
Yeah, I mean, one of my brothers didn't go to college. He, I think, did one semester at Boise State and then dropped out. But he's doing construction. He's a general contractor. And yeah, he's super successful because in the end, the college career is not what makes you successful. That degree, that diploma does not make you successful. But what it does, or what does make you successful, is hard work. Hard work, work ethic, and honesty, in my opinion, are the two things that will make you never ever need to want for work. So if you have those two things, you can be successful in any field that you choose. The career path or the education can help you in certain careers that require it, as well as maybe for individuals that aren't somewhat sure yet exactly what field they want to do. It may give them a couple options because they'll take further classes that may pique their interest further, or it may be like, I thought I wanted to do that, but I for sure don't. I don't think college itself will make you successful, but there are other aspects and other people that I know that were successful because of just work ethic and honesty.
I would agree with that. There's definitely a good amount of people I know who didn't go to college. A lot of my extended family didn't go to college, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs, and they worked really hard to make their business or whatever they were working towards work for them. I also think it's interesting that you look at like the majority of very successful like entrepreneurs. A lot of them either went to college and dropped out, or they didn't necessarily go, which is interesting to think about. And definitely, like Andrew said, one of the most important things is good work ethic.
You guys ready for this?
Yep.
Make an argument for why college is a waste of time.
Probably 70% of people that go to college, it is a waste of time. Now, there's a lot of people that go to college and they sleep through their classes, they still get a diploma, but the reality is either A, they basically had a job because of their parents before even going in, or B, they make network connections and they network while they're at college in these parties and such, and so all it takes is like one of those individuals to go off and be successful, and then they have a network contact that can help get them into a good job. But when you're going into, there's career paths out there that make no sense, and then those people are taking on a whole bunch of debt, and then they are complaining about getting student loans that they should be forgiven. If someone's going to take out $150,000 worth of student debt, they need to understand you are responsible for paying that, and if that does not have a full career and a big salary so that you can pay off that debt, maybe don't choose that career path. And there's also a bunch of people that I feel like go to college just to, it's a big party, and they're just making it the most expensive party possible, and they're just wasting their money doing it.
A business management degree might be a pretty big scam, because you're gonna get way more experience working in business.
Yeah, I think that is definitely, I would agree in that regard. I think that's what a lot of people default to as like a safe degree, because it's really not difficult to get, and you can take that and apply it anywhere, because you could also become a manager just by working out of high school and working a couple of years and working yourself up to a management position. So I think that they're hoping, hey, if I drop an extra $100K in debt to get this degree, maybe that'll give me a jump start in the career world. They're choosing degrees and careers that don't need it, like the business management.
Valerie, make an argument for why college is a waste of time.
Someone should not go to college, and it's a waste of time because, first of all, if you get out of high school and you start work directly, then you're 4 years ahead of all of your peers in your workforce, and so you're getting all that experience where someone else is maybe in a classroom or they're hanging out with their friends, so you're 4 years ahead of everybody. You also shouldn't go because, like we talked about earlier, you get way more experience actually working in the workforce, so maybe like trade school where you're getting to directly work in it and observe someone who's doing the trade and you're not learning off of a lecture. And then the last reason that you shouldn't go to college is because it's a scam, because what they say that they're selling you for the price, you may not actually be getting that. You're kind of just told that that's what you're going to be getting whenever you pay your tuition year one, and then you don't actually know what you're learning. You don't know if it's necessarily true, but they're telling you that it is. So again, like what you're paying for, you might not actually be getting your money's worth, so that's why it can be a scam.
Make an argument for why it is essential and helpful in life and career.
As far as essential, helpful in life and career, I would say it's essential for the jobs and the careers that require the education, and that's typically your lawyers, your doctors, your CPAs, your nurses, the people that are going to be dealing with either like people's lives, like the medical field, or requiring difficult and maybe slightly more arduous tasks like dealing with law or dealing with taxes. Those ones are a good reason for college and university.
Alright, so let's say I'm not going to be a doctor or lawyer. Tell me why college is essential and helpful.
That transition period into adulthood is you are able to go in, you're making your own decisions, you're dealing with your own consequences, but you're not in a fully real life scenario. You're in a little bit of a simulation where you're still within a bubble where you don't have the full 100% impact of consequences for your actions quite yet. But you are on your own. You're away from your parents. You are now making also more friends. You're learning to be a little more extroverted, be a little more personable, network some, and learn that aspect. So I think that's pretty essential as far as it's a good transition period before you have to go into paying rent on your own, doing groceries, figuring out transportation, how much you're making, putting money away for retirement. Before you have to do all of that in full adulthood, you have this nice little window of this transition period.
I would agree with that. I think college is essential for everybody because, you graduate high school and either your parents are going to kick you out, which is not super great, or you're going to move out and start your own career and life. And so it gives you a great transition period. It teaches you some important life skills such as how to talk to other people, specifically like the opposite gender, and it teaches you... For like male species, I think a lot of them learn how to cook in college because like that's not something that they had to do in high school, but it's the first time that they actually have to learn to like do skills such as that, and that's why I think it's essential, especially for the male species.
College to learn how to cook? What?
For the male species.
For ladies, I would say it's not quite as essential because there's a lot of ladies out there who just want to be a trad wife, and so that's something that you could learn outside of the college experience.
But what if you want to go find a husband at like a Christian college? You want to get a degree in marriage.
Aren't women teaching the next generation? Shouldn't they have the highest education? They're teaching the next generation of young boys and girls by raising them?
Well, no, because I think that the most important things in life are life skills and street smarts, which you don't learn in college. You learn those on the streets and doing life. And so as a mother, for example, you're going to learn a lot about how to put a band-aid on a wound. You're going to learn how to hang your kids' clothes. You're going to learn a lot about how to make a meal that is high in your macro and your micronutrients. You're going to learn how to wash windows. Like, you learn it all as a mom. So that makes you the most qualified and highly educated individual.
So pretty much in about one sentence, I got you to argue for why college isn't essential.
Well, for the male species, it's extremely essential.
Now this is super sexist.
I don't think women should go to college at all. Well, one of the biggest problems with today's culture and society is that if you can't find a husband soon enough as a woman, then you're forced to get a career because you just can't live in today's society without getting a good job.
Yeah.
So it's either you find a husband, you go full trad wife, or you need to go to college, or you need to get a good job so you can at least sustain yourself till you do get a man in your life.
Well, I feel like, didn't women back in the day though, stay living with their parents until
Right.
they found a husband?
But that's not the way that today's culture works. It's
Yeah.
Even as a woman, you're expected to go out there and make a name for yourself, but yet it's really hard to do as a single person. It's way easier doing
Correct. Without a career,
double
especially.
income.
Yeah.
So it's what are you supposed to do as a woman? Where's chivalry gone?
Alright, thank you for sharing your personal experiences. I think it's really interesting, kind of each of your trajectory, a decade apart. So it's very interesting to hear about how you went to college and how you're about to go to grad school and how you were able to go debt free. And again, hear your story now 10 years post removed and kind of your perspective on your career path. You guys did a decent job trying to make an argument for why college is a waste of time and why it's potentially essential and helpful. But just to summarize this whole conversation, anything else on this topic that you want to share? People about 4 years behind you, people about 14 years behind you.
I would just say, kind of to summarize, definitely consider what you want to do, what specifically career path that you want to go into, and is college actually necessary? And then if you're choosing to go to college, start working on how you're going to pay for it early on in high school so that once you get there, you're all set up and ready to go. Take advantage of the people around you who do have good resources, as far as scholarships, people who have been there. Don't try and do it alone because they have really great insight. Ultimately, if you're a woman, you don't need to go, but as a man, you do need to.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Valerie kind of hit the nail on the head with that. What I would also add in regards to that, just kind of reiterating, is figure out what you want to do long term. If your long term goal is a certain career path, and that career path does require college, then you should figure out college. And don't be afraid to have a conversation with your parents. Hey, what does the financial situation look like with college? Am I paying for it all? Are you guys chipping in at all? What do we look like if we're filing for financial aid? Start to figure that out early, like Val was saying, and then start applying for scholarships. But make sure don't be afraid to have that conversation and lean into those that have gone through it. Most teachers will be able to help you because obviously they went through it themselves. Some teachers in most schools are actually up to date with the process and figuring out scholarships. Utilize those resources as best you can if you do choose to go to college, but also understand you don't have to. If your career path is, hey, I want to work as a manager of this store, it may be best just to work at that store for a couple of years and then become a manager. Don't think you have to go off to college to get that management degree to manage a store. I wasn't aware of trade schools going up as far as plumbers, electricians, things like that. Trade schools are an option. If you have a desire to do that kind of work, they pay great. You don't really graduate with any debt and you start off with just a really good paying salary. So if you like to get your hands dirty, consider those as an option as well. But just remember, it's a long-term investment. You gotta be thinking long-term. Don't think short-term only, or else you're gonna end up winding up with a bunch of debt and no idea of what you wanna do. But if you happen to know exactly what you wanna do, start thinking your sophomore year, junior year, ideally even before your senior year of high school, what do I wanna do with my life? What career do I wanna go into? Does this require college education? And if it does, full send it, but do it well, prepare for it as best you can before you even start your freshman year, obviously.
So one more thing, if you're applying to scholarships in colleges, you should really lean into your weaknesses and stay away from your strengths. For example, if you're a woman, you need to specify that. If you're white, just say I prefer not to say. If you are from a single parent household, say that.
Praise that to the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're a different race, maybe mention it. But again, really lean into your weaknesses because college is really weak individuals.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of similar to tax law. There's tax avoidance. You can utilize the tax laws and loopholes to save in taxes. Why not do the same thing with getting scholarships?
Yeah, it sounds really racist and really sexist, and that's because it is, and the system is really racist and really sexist, but you might as well use it because it's there,
well, you didn't invent it, so
right, exactly.
You can use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I think your insights, both of you, from your unique perspective, is really fun and interesting. And I hope everyone enjoys your guys' thoughts. And yeah, appreciate your guys' time.
Yeah, let us know in the comments, guys.
Let us know in the comments what you think.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.